Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North, fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby. Yay.
The excitement is oozing out of Kane's voice today for this Mariners episode, and a little bit of sickness last week. Had to skip the recording, but didn't miss a whole lot. We're back playing basically 500 baseball still, really looking for them to take those next step forwards and kind of outline what went on and how we think that maybe they can push to uh, make a run in a positive
And
direction.
win a couple series instead of every other or
Stop,
every
stop doing
other
good, bad,
other.
good, bad, good, bad.
Yeah.
But before we do that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy, it's got a little bit more pizzazz behind him now. We got a little bit more decor up there, and guess what? Good thing it's a Mariners episode because it's mostly Mariners stuff. If you're looking for a guy like that, you're looking for a guy like me, your boy Coach Red. Find me on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy that looks like he is going to evolve and or go plunder by his background, it's Kane.
Yep. I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, TikTok Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Pause, pause, pause. Do it, freaking do it. Yeah, my Mariners corner is that, and then a little one up there. The rest of it's anime.
Yep.
So.
Um, Hopping into just some of the storylines, like we can go over it real quick. You win 3 out of 4 against the Astros, get swept against the Padres. Then you turn that around. You win 2 out of 3 against the White Sox and lose 2 out of 3 against the Royals. Royals giving us fits all season, but a lot of new and intriguing storylines have occurred throughout this timeline. You have Brendan Donovan uh, and Cal both on injured list. Um, some roster shakeup happens, right? So you see Victor Robles come back from injury, and then you see the call up of Colt Emerson into the starting lineup. And during that time, you hear that JP is willing to move off of shortstop for the betterment of the team. You're still running out there some pretty funky lineups day in, day out. When you've got a lefty on the bump, you're still trying to find that magic in the bullpen, even though the bullpen like 2 weeks ago had the best ERA in baseball, it didn't feel that
Mhm.
way. And also you have piggyback starters, right? Bryce Miller throws a gem. They try to go Luis Castillo a little bit longer than they probably should have and end up
I,
losing a
I,
game that I
I
think was
mean,
very winnable.
letting him come out in the ninth was just an atrocious call. Front office needs to figure it out, and
Well, got another
and actually
piggyback
take
start tonight.
things.
We got another one tonight with
Yeah,
Luis starting the game.
I my thing is this front office is so unserious about winning, right? About appeasing people. Yeah, Luis Castillo is probably going to have a little bit of a funk with him now that this is the situation. But here's the thing: you've lost it. You have 100% lost it. You got to 50 pitches in 3 innings off of his piggyback, bro. That's unacceptable, in my opinion. This is a guy that was the workhorse of our rotation, right? This was the dude. And I understand age happens and all this, but the regression with Luis Castillo should be studied because this is just god awful out of him.
I will say, first start, awesome. A lot of bad starts, and then right before Bryce came back was probably his second best start of the year, right? We talked
Sure.
about that. And I do think that you get more juice from Bryce Miller right now. And that's just kind of the thing is you got to roll with the guys that are going to get you there. And having Luis Castillo as your long guy and pitching every couple of days, I don't think is a bad plan. The other
No.
reason why I don't like the piggyback is because it shortens your bullpen, which already doesn't have a lot of good high leverage depth currently, and you're sitting there without having an extra guy because you're saving one guy for 1 day a week. You've got to be able to open that up. And I think that after this start, you'll see the piggyback kind of go away. And especially if you don't see Luis get super deep and you do see Bryce Miller have an extended outing today, but I think that'll cement it and put Luis in the bullpen.
No,
But the
and what
reason I say that
exactly
you've got to keep him interested, you've got to keep him active, and you got to keep him engaged and keep that fire burning because injuries pop up, man. Like we're seeing it more in the bullpen and in the field this year than I feel like we did it last year, especially to key components of the roster. And
100%.
having Luis Castillo be a guy that you can turn to and get multiple innings out of a spot start after he moves completely to the bullpen, I think is the route that you need to go.
I agree with you. You know, like you called it last week when they first started. It's like, oh, if Bryce gets in a situation, they'll bring in a guy to pivot to Luis, and that's exactly what they did, and it looked great until he got to the ninth inning. But this has Jerry DePoto written all over it, and the fact that like he's so wants to appease people that he doesn't like. In my opinion, like you may have a totally different look on this than I do, but I just yeah, he cares about winning, but only if it appeases to everybody. Like I
I feel
guarantee you
like
the
I feel like he wants to win the way he wants to win. And
I
he
get
has a
it.
vision. I don't think he's trying to necessarily appease other people. I think he's doing what he ultimately thinks will benefit the team not only today but in the long run. He's got that longer term picture, but when the window's open, you got to go take that pie out the window. That pie doesn't
Yes.
stay there forever. Like you're setting that pie out to cool down. They're going to take that thing back inside. And I know this is a very rough analogy for this, but like go take
Yeah,
it. When your window's open, you go snatch it.
you know, and it's there's just like starters are fluctuating this year, and they just it's very weird baseball. But when you're not getting the like can't hit left-handed pitching to save your life for this team, starters are giving up 4+ runs almost every time they're out on the bump. Uh, you know, your mainstays, George Kirby and Brian Wu, the guys who don't give up runs are giving up runs. And Logan has always been susceptible to giving up runs, especially to the home run ball. Emerson has still looked fantastic. Dude, I can't say enough good things about the guy. I mean, he just comes out and deals almost every time, and if he gives up a couple runs, he's still locked in and gives you six. And Bryce just has looked immaculate since coming back, and
One game.
he looked good in Houston. That has been the only time, yeah. But he was looking good down in Tacoma too before
He
he got.
didn't pitch in Houston. He pitched against the White Sox.
No, yeah, it's been a long 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but you know, I don't know. They got to figure out how to hit left-handed pitching
Well,
as well.
and I think that when you get healthier, you've seen some guys that are hitting from the left-handed side that will obviously still be in the lineup once you have a switch hitter in Cal Raleigh and a lefty in Brendan Donovan come back,
Hmm.
right? You have you have more variables and ways to play it because they've let Colt Emerson hit lefties and righties. Cole Young is hitting lefties and righties. Josh Naylor will hit lefties and righties, and so will JP. You throw in Donovan and Cal into that mix. Now you're
Hmm.
sitting there. Somebody's DHing, right? You could be throwing Robles out in right field and
Hmm.
then you've got your choice of either Cal or JP at the DH spot, depending on who you want behind the dish. So I think that that can ultimately help this team because you look at Brendan Donovan, who's a high contact guy, and Cal Raleigh is usually has a higher batting average from the right side. So being able to couple those things together, I think, can really extend this lineup. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think Brendan Donovan is on his rehab assignment right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's
And
down
we'll
in
kind of see,
Arkansas.
yeah, we'll see where Cal is at.
He just started like a throw session today per I think Hollander or Dan, and he's in Arizona rehabbing right now.
So when you get those guys back, you're kind of at a spot where that lineup is. We've talked about it. Even with those guys out, except when there's a lefty on the bump, the lineup has been longer than it's been in
Awesome.
years, right? And you've got Randy doing things that we haven't seen out of
Yep.
him, batting near 300. You've got Julio that is having the best start to any year that he's ever had. Nails has turned it around. You're seeing good things out of Cole Young. You're getting JP gives you some of the tougher at bats in the box,
Yes.
uh, at bat to at bat. You've seen Luke Rayleigh have his stretches where he's hot. Mitch Garver hits a dinger that wins you a game on Friday. Pareda's
Mm-hmm.
been looking good behind the dish too,
Dude.
and a good
Swinging a good
contact
stick?
guy, right? He's got more contact than Garver does, but Garver's
Yes.
been looking solid as well. So you have all these pieces. There's just a handful of problem spots right now that really jump out on you when you're having them play 2+ games a week.
Like I'm here for the Leo Rivas send down. We all were not very happy seeing him play 6 days a week. Um Especially out of the box. And then you finally call Colt Emerson. You see the defense. He's had great at bats.
We'll
Okay, go
jump.
ahead.
We're still kind of in the negative area here, and
Okay,
I
okay,
don't
okay,
want
okay.
to. We'll save that for when we
Fair, fair,
put
fair,
the
fair, fair,
put the
fair.
positive spin. We'll go to.
Okay,
We'll have a nice Colt Emerson talk.
okay, okay. Um, so I mean, I talked to you about my biggest, I think, quarrel before we started recording, and it's Rob Refschneider. This is your guy. You're paying $6 million to crush lefties, and he's got like 5 base hits on the year. Like, they faced Noah Schultz, right? Friday,
Three
and
Ks.
3 strikeouts from your lefty, supposedly killer. And he looks lost. He's either leading off or he's hitting four. And like, in my opinion, like I get it. They spent money on him. They're gonna try to get every ounce of production out of the guy because that's how Jerry's been his whole entire tenure. Is he keeps the guys he pays. And at this point, my hands are up in the air. When a lefty's on the bump, I know we're gonna lose that game.
Well, they didn't. They
Shockingly,
did and they
right?
didn't, right? Like Friday rolled around and you looked at like what is this lineup, and that's a game that you win. They also won one of those games, I think, against the White Sox with the lefty on the bump, right? But it makes it more difficult. And I saw something over the weekend that kind of combats your line of thinking. And it's tough because the results haven't been good, right? But Rob Snyder absolutely demolished lefties the last 3 seasons. It's not like he, had fallen off a cliff. We're not talking like Tommy LaStella and AJ Pollock level production, right? But there was a lot higher number coming from Ref Snyder. And I wish could recall who I saw it from over on X/Twitter, but they said through the first month of the season, Josh Naylor was arguably the worst ranked batter in all of baseball.
Sure. And we
And,
talked about
and
it.
Josh Naylor at that point in time had more at bats than Rob Refsnyder currently does. And that's
Mhm.
kind of the thing that I think is tough for Refsnyder in particular is he's not getting at bats every day. You're getting him, he's the first guy that's being swung to, and you're batting him leadoff majority of the time, right? I do think that having him bat lower in the lineup, maybe fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth, probably more towards the latter would be more beneficial because you could see that he is pressing like no other because I think he realizes that you only get so many chances in big league baseball, right? And if you're not producing, they're going to put someone out there that will. And
I
you looked
mean,
at the Connor Joe demotion once Victor Robles came up because he had options. And I think
mhm,
at the time that is the right space. And it's not like everything I've heard about Rob Refsnyder is he's a guy that's there early and stays late, even when he doesn't need to be there. So you're
mhm.
talking about a good clubhouse guy. You're just not seeing the results there. And you have people that will chastise Julio on a full week where he has a down week and then blisters for 3 weeks. But you look at a full week of Julio at bats, that's like 3 weeks of Rob Refsnyder at bats. So it's tough
And
to
again,
quantify that. And the up, down,
yeah,
start, stop is difficult when you are hitting a skid in the road.
it's tough because, like, I said the same thing with Garver, right? It's like you got to stop only going to Garver on a lefty some days because, like, you got to get him the right-handed at bats. And look at what he did. He hit a two-run homer off a righty down in Houston. Like, I like Mitch Garver, right? We didn't like Mitch Garver at 10 a year, right? Or was it 5 a year? No, it's 10 a year.
Hmm.
Mitch Garver at 2.5 per year.
Dude,
Yeah,
when
love
Cal is
it.
healthy, I like Pareda.
Yeah, dude, Paredes been like I kind of low key like him too. He's got the his only thing that I've seen is he's got what Mitch Garver has, and it's trying to get a tag on somebody. Doesn't look great. Everything else does.
I mean, he's a guy that was batting around 300. He's got a good walk
Yeah,
rate. He's got a good eye up there. I mean, so does Garver, but he doesn't have the exact power that Garver has, even though he did hit one out, I think, against the
his
White
first.
Sox.
I believe that was his first home run of his major league career.
Might have been, but the average is there, and I think that calls a pretty good game. Neither him or Garver are throwing guys out at a very high clip.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what this team needs is either you go all in on the power like they did last year, which can put you through some swings, but it hasn't really shown up as much as you would like to this year. I think that you need to change your mindset slightly. And when you look at Cole Young, right? He's got big time pop, but is he always putting it over the fence? No. Luke Raley leading the team in home runs, but also has a bunch of doubles and just spraying singles around the yard. Colt Emerson is a guy that can go, foul pole to foul pole with some pretty decent power. It's not always going to go over the fence. JP can put it over the fence. Not an all-time power guy. Same with Julio. Same with Randy. If you can get more guys on base, the more opportunities you have with runners in scoring position, the more chances you have to hit them in. And up until I think they were talking about the Kansas City series, and it was like the third or fourth inning, and the Mariners at that point in time were 0 for 6 on the series with runners in scoring position. They had six opportunities, and you had the Royals who won a game, ended up winning 2 games, but they were batting like 140 with runners in scoring position, but they were getting guys into scoring position.
Mm-hmm. And
So
that
having
just
more guys
seems
on base increases the opportunity to score more than one run at a time.
agreed. And you know, that's another good point is runners of scoring position on this team is absolutely atrocious. Uh,
The clutch is gone from it's just the juice from the clutchness doesn't seem to be there as consistently as we've seen the
yeah,
last 4 years.
yeah. And it's, you have series where it's like you just said, oh, through this entire series, they're 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position. And it's like, or 2 for 15. And it's like, yeah, that's how you not win games. Like, home runs are fun. I love home runs. I love a good Goldie call. But like put the ball or try to put the ball just throughout the field, right? Instead of you have a lot of guys who are like, oh, there's a guy on second. Let me swing out of my ass real quick and try to put this ball over the fence. Like, no, I just need you to put a shallow little bleeder
Well, Texas Leaguer.
between right field and second base. and you either score the guy from second or you got a guy on third.
I mean, the main thing I want to see from the Mariners is just try to make solid contact.
Yeah.
And you have seen that. I mean, I will say this, in the Kansas City series, there were plenty of balls that were laced that just went right to guys, right? They were
Dom
good at
Canzone.
bats. Yeah, Dom Canzone, Randy Rosarino, Julio had a couple as well. Like they are putting together better at bats. They did not Saturday and allowed a guy to throw a complete game shutty, right?
Yeah.
Which you don't see in Major League Baseball very often. And it wasn't like it was a stud muffin, and it was a righty of all
Yeah.
things, right? But
Was it or was it Noah Cameron?
no, it's Kolick.
No, it was Kolick. Yeah, you're
So,
right.
you know, you come into a stretch where you've got 3 games with the team that is at the top of the division right now in the Sacramento Athletics. And then you have a pesky team in the Diamondbacks coming up. Like you can use those, and luckily you're on. Yeah, they're in Sac, and then I think they're at home. So
Hmm.
you're back on the West Coast, getting your feels, and I do think that the life that you saw out of a guy that we'll talk about next, and Julio, and the late inning competitiveness they put out on Sunday, I think will hopefully catapult this team into playing better than
Bef
500 baseball.
Before we get to the positives, I want to ask you, what does Brennan Davis have to do to get to the major leagues? What else does he have to do for them to finally say, we can't keep this guy down here anymore. We have to play him.
I think that it's tough right now because he only plays in the outfield, right? And so
Yes.
when you look at that, you've got outfield and DH at bats available. So
Hmm.
when there is a righty on the bump, Luke Raley's getting that start.
Hmm. Agreed.
Dom Canzone's probably getting that start at the DH. And then when you have Cal back, you might try to ease him and he might be seeing a few more DH at
Sure.
bats, right? So I think it's tough there because yes, would he bat against lefty? 100%, right? But I think it's gonna kind of come down to an injury to somebody is the way that he makes up because he dealt with something himself earlier this year, and I know that they reached the deadline and put him on the 40-man roster. So I think that either he keeps balling out because I think you want him to continue to play every single day. This is a guy
Of
that was a
course.
top prospect that has dealt with injuries throughout his career that is actually spring and what he's doing in AAA has been electric, but
Mhm.
you don't want to bring him up to the bigs because you can't theoretically play him every day. You
Right.
can't unless you're going to be giving Randy a little bit more time off, who's been one of your hottest hitters. You're not going to give Julio any time off, another one of your hot hitters. Unless you're going to sit here and go, all right, Dom Canzone, you're going to be riding pine for 2 weeks. Like
Hmm.
there's nothing that the way that the roster is currently constructed, there's nothing you can do. And
So unfortunate.
I do think that you could see a point where, he's ultimately would take a Rob Refsnyder role. What
Sure.
does that do for you right now? He gets
Nothing.
two and a half games a week, maybe.
Yeah. And to me, like, can't do that for a guy who's literally just hitting and hitting everything, right? Like, I think he's leading Tacoma. If Patrick Wisdom's not there, he's leading Tacoma in home runs, RBIs, hard hit percentage. Just the guy is tearing the cover off the ball, and I just want to finally see him get that step to where he can produce for us, right? Because he was a top prospect with the Yankees for years. And, after so many years of the injury, they're just like, yeah, we don't want you back. And I get it. I understand that, because it's kind of the whole thing with Kellenic where he'd be great and then he would get hurt or something. And then you just think that he's going to do something. And at some point, you got to wash your hands.
Yep. So I think it's tough right now. I think it ultimately will boil down to an injury to one of your outfield batters
Hmm.
that
Okay.
would make that possible. But I think with where they're sitting right now, unless, you know, the Mariners do something crazy and really shake some things up and you see Ref Snyder go down, because I think you're out of options with Canzone and Rayleigh. Can't send them down. And you don't want to lose either of them.
No, you don't.
And it
I
even gets
understand
more
that.
complicated when you bring Brendan Donovan back, right?
Yeah. Don't know where he's gonna play.
He's probably going to play in the outfield. Or
There goes your Luke Rayleigh spot.
JP will be at the DH spot, and then he's playing third, and Colts over at short. Now, let's get into the Colt talk. Top 10
Yeah.
prospect, top 10
Yeah.
prospect in his second game with his parents' in attendance. It's his first career home run, a 3-run dinger, I believe.
Yes. And it was below the zone. I can't believe that he got enough loft on that
It
to
was a
put it
laser beam.
over.
It was a
It
laser
was.
beam.
He definitely barreled it.
Oh,
And the thing that you're getting out of him, right, is his first few at bats were laser ropes
mhm.
right to somebody. I mean, off a lefty, he was putting everything into left field. And it's just I don't ever see this from anybody. And this is all the talk about Colt Emerson that you hear throughout the minors is the dude can put the ball almost anywhere he wants to.
And the detractions for him were coming into the season. He didn't walk enough for what Jerry Dipoto liked to see, and his strikeout rate was a little bit high. And we've seen him whiff and get some strikeouts. But the reason they decided to bring him up is because they talked to him about that walk rate and that he's got to be more selective when he's up there. And those numbers jumped. And we've seen him take bags um, for that. But outside of yesterday, outside of that very first game or second game that he only had one other hit
Mhm.
in, you know, a full week's time. So the average really takes a boom when you go 4 for 4 with three doubles, right? That helps
Yeah.
out pretty immensely. And he was one of like 10 guys in Mariners history to have a 4 for 4 game with three doubles.
And there are only two guys he shares that with, and that is Alex Rodriguez and Kickin
That's
Jr.
under 20. So
Yeah.
there's only been 10 Mariners that have done that. Plus, I also saw something else that Jared Kelenic has never had a 3 hit or a 4 hit game.
Yes. Yeah, he's
So
had a couple three-hit games, but
15 of them is what I saw.
yeah, but just the thing with Colt is the defense looks phenomenal so far. I mean, watching him play short for 2 games was such a treat. I think him and Cole Young up the middle are going to be so much fun. There's going to be a lot more double plays, I feel like, turned because with JP,
They've turned quite a bit this year with JP though. I mean, like,
true. It's just JP has a little bit of it just looks a little slow coming out of the glove sometimes,
mhm.
and especially on the slower, but not slow, but kind of quick guys are getting that first base. But I just feel like if you just have a well-oiled machine up there, it's gonna look pretty nice.
Yeah, and I do think that we're like the future is now, right? We're seeing the young guns really come into play, and there's a fun wave right behind there, right? Too, you got
Yes.
Las Montez that hit a home run over the weekend to straightaway center field in the park where you don't see balls go to straightaway center field.
Dude,
You know,
he's
you
so
talked
fun,
about
isn't
Brendan
he?
Davis, Bautista has looked good. Michael Arroyo is another guy that's been hot.
Alan Celestin.
Oh,
Let's not even forget about him.
well, I think he had what, a 24 game hit streak
25.
at 25, finally broken up, but he was batting like 444 over that time with extra base hits. And the game, he still got on base in the game where he didn't record a hit and had a sac fly.
Yeah. The
So
dude is unreal.
welcome to Arkansas very soon.
Yeah. You look at a lot of these guys and they Felon Celston has dealt with a lot of injury and stuff, but then you finally get him a full runway to start a year, and my goodness, does he look? fantastic. Who's the other guy? Tyler Sundstrom? No, that's not Tyler. It's Sundstrom or Soderstrom plays for the A's. Sundstrom. I believe he's the one who always is also hurt, but he hits a lot of home runs when he's healthy. I believe it happened last year too. First game back, dinger. That kid is going to be super special. Um,
And then the
there's a
arms,
lot of
right?
guys.
You got Ryan Sloan and Kate Anderson that are doing everything that you hope them to do in the minors. So the farm's strong, and it's time. Like you're starting to see that youth movement come into play right now.
Across the
And
league, it's happening.
yeah, but I don't care about the rest of the league. I
I
care about the
know.
Mariners.
I know.
The rest of the league, in my opinion, can suck it. All right. Speaking of things that may or may not have sucked, we'll go into our picks to click from 2 weeks ago. So we'll start with the pitchers. Kane, you had taken Colt Emerson or Colt. Oh man,
I
Emerson Hancock.
Emerson
This
Hancock.
I'm doing what Ryan Roland Smith did on the broadcast and got them mixed up whether they were both on the field at the same time. Uh, Emerson Hancock had two solid starts, two solid
Yep.
outings. I took George Kirby, who had a bad outing and then a very solid outing. So you'll go ahead and get that. When we go to the sticks, JP the first week with the bat, I think outshone Naylor. And when you look at,
Naylor didn't have a good 2 weeks.
he did not. So I think you got to give it to JP.
I
I
should
will.
have picked Randy.
I was
I
going to take an asterisk because the defense by JP has been so bad that I kind of wanted to take him out of the running, but guess what? I think what he did
yeah,
with the stick helped get this team in position to win games a little bit more than Nails did. So that is a push. I'm still up by one
yeah.
on the season.
Should have took
So
Randy, man. God damn it.
shoulda, woulda, coulda. All right, Kane, who do you got for your pick to click? Let's start with the pitchers this
Let's
week.
go for the pitchers this week. I even though he's in a piggyback situation, I'm gonna go Bryce Miller. Um, I think what
Opportunity
you're
to get
gonna,
two turns on the bump this week.
yeah, and I think that it just he doesn't look uncomfortable this year. And even in his minor league starts, because I was following him pretty closely during those rehabs, he was looked fantastic. I think he only got lit up once throughout any of his rehabs and all of that. Finally looks like a healthy version of himself, which I mean, when he's all right and working, properly, he might be the best pitcher that the Mariners have. Because in that second half 2 years ago, nobody could touch him, right? And if we can see any inklings of that from Bryce Miller again, I think we're going to be in a good spot. So give me big text this week. I just think that he's back and ready to go on a warpath. Coach Red, who do you have for your pitcher this week?
I'm gonna go with Brian Wu. And yesterday the
Weird game.
numbers and the length didn't really show the whole story. So basically, out of an inning where JP ends up airmailing a ball, they end up scoring a run, and then gets into a little dicey situation later, but should have been out of those innings sooner. And you could just see the frustration on his face. I think he's going to come in dialed. I didn't really want to take a pitcher pitching in Sacramento just because you're at that minor league ballpark. It's getting warmer
Mhm.
down there. The ball's going to fly. I was very tempted to take a look at my boy Walter to really hopefully put a stamp on the roadie with a win going back home. But that that ballpark's a little tough to really gauge a pitcher on. So give me a Brian Wu start back at home.
That's fair.
All right, who do you got for your hitter
Uh,
of the week?
most of my mainstays are not on this team right now because they're hurt. And you know, I tried to go Naylor last time. I was torn between him and Randy. I don't know if I'm gonna go Randy either because towards in that Kansas trip, it didn't look like he was the best.
I mean,
I don't.
Randy did hit
I
some
turned off the
liner
game.
doubles.
I turned off some of the games this weekend because I was just frustrated and over a lot of it. And but I'm gonna go with my gut this week. It's screaming at me to take Colt Emerson. Uh, I do think that you're going to see him get more consistent. It's just that week of trying to get into the rhythm of Major League Baseball, right? It's a lot different than AAA. I believe you're down at a stadium for a week almost, and you're playing them like six times. So just the difference that coming from AAA to the MLB, what you've seen from him from the start has looked great. And I do think that he's going to draw walks, hit doubles, and the occasional home run from here and there. But I think it's going to be super consistent. Give me Colt Emerson this week and to kind of keep launching off the platform that he's been given. So, Coach Red, who do you got for your hitters?
Um, let's let's see. This one's gonna be pretty tough this week. I'm gonna take Julio Rodriguez.
Fair.
Having
It's a
a
good pick.
phenomenal month of May. The power numbers have ticked up. You know, he's creeping up with Luke Rayleigh for homers, and Julio is scorching balls right now.
Yes.
Scorching them. He hits a homer in the first yesterday. His next at bat lines one down the third baseline, I think at 106,
Yep.
108. Like the ball is jumping off of his bat right now. And being able to have him go in Sacramento could be the J Rod show might have some extra
Yeah.
long shots this week.
When he hit that ball yesterday, my jaw was on the floor. The ball was absolutely barreled. Um, like Julio's been so fun this year. And I just like it's the consistency factor for him. Like this is the Julio we were all promised, and like this was the Julio that was talked up. Yes, we've seen August Julio, and that is unmatched by almost anybody in this sport. But if you can give me a consistent Julio all year,
And
like
I will still take August Julio.
sure,
I'll
sure,
still
sure,
still
sure,
take
sure,
him.
sure, sure. But what we're seeing out of him at what 25 now? Or is he 24? 25?
Still a
Whatever.
young buck.
Um, this is the progression and the depth that you needed to see from him. And I think that yeah, I can't talk too much more about him or bad things will happen, so I'll just end it right there.
Yep. Shut your mouth. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. And we should be good for back on the week schedule, barring anything crazy
Yeah.
happening. So um be a little bit more in depth on the breakdown of these two series next week. But if you want to reach out to us before then, go ahead and follow us over on social media. You can find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False, false, false. Do it, friggin' do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.